Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to talk about how to guide and prompt, as well as help an avoidant to take accountability based on some of your requests. This was something a lot of you guys were talking about, and I think it's important. The very first one is actually leading with understanding, not accusation. Accusation can be very triggering and creates a sense of an avoidant feeling defensive. And so that's why this is leading with an understanding can be very beneficial for that reason. Individuals who struggle with this attachment style, both fearful and dismissive, they tend to have a fear of being misunderstood and attacked. And so often their resistance to apologizing is because they're trying to protect themselves from not being open to an attack. So for example, let's just say I said something like, I don't want to talk right now, I'm going to hang up. And you thought that was rude. And so let's say after I said that, I hung up. And let's say I felt guilty about that. I felt like I shouldn't have said that. But I'm like, if I tell you, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, if I tell you that I'm sorry, you're going to take that and run with it. You're going to start taking this to be a time where you can highlight all my mistakes. You're right. You should be sorry. Look at how you do this. And you're cold and you're mean and you're detached and you're selfish, whatever it is, and just keep making a list. And so that's why a lot of avoidance, I'm not saying that's right. I think it's not healthy because you need to take risks, right? But that's why a lot of avoidance resist apologizing. And so what ends up happening is if you can show that you're not necessarily that type of person, because I know you're not, if you can say, I know you didn't mean to hurt me, and I get that you see some things, I get that you see things differently. This is what happened. This is how I perceive it. And then you can leave it like that, or you can say, and I'd like an apology, right? It softens the defensives and opens the door for reflection as well, okay? The next one is you want to appeal to an avoidance values. A lot of people do not understand how valuable this is. Avoidants have different values than other attachment styles. Everyone has different values, but I notice with avoidance, they tend to have a strong sense of pride, integrity, justice. A lot of them are like that. And so what ends up happening is if you can frame an apology from that perspective, it kind of aligns with their values. So you can say, I know you care about doing the right thing, and I honestly believe that you do the right thing overall. I feel hurt about this, and I know you didn't mean to hurt me. I would like you to reflect on this and maybe apologize because it will help me to feel acknowledged, right? So you say it makes me feel acknowledged because they want to feel acknowledged so they understand. They're talking about doing the right thing. You're talking about they didn't mean to hurt you. These are things that they value, and so it might land a little bit better, okay? The next one is sometimes it can help to give space after a disagreement. Every avoidant is different. Some of them need more space. Some need less space. Some only need like 5-10 minutes. Some need space from the disagreement, but are completely fine with talking about other things. This one is kind of like my partner. He needs a little bit of space after arguments, or even during, sometimes a little bit of a break, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want to talk. He just wants to talk about something else. So let's say we have a disagreement about, it could be anything, maybe a tone that I had or a tone he had, just something random, right? Something small. He doesn't want to talk about that. Maybe he can have we can go through the conversation. We found like a small resolution for now, but he's like, this is too much for me right now. I'm at my threshold, because he has a smaller threshold, which a lot of avoidant males do. And that's okay. I have a small threshold as well, but I think his is a little smaller. He might say like, I just need a little break from this topic. Can we talk about something else? And then he'll talk about like something that makes him feel better, or just in general, talk about sports, talk about what we're going to have for dinner, talk about what we're going to do this day, what we're going to do next week, something like that. And then that makes him feel better. And usually that space just makes him feel a little bit safer. And then once he calms down a little bit, or whatever it is, he's okay to return to the conversation. And a lot of avoidants are like that. So some of them, they need space from you entirely, right? I can be like that a little bit, but it doesn't mean I need too much of a long space. It can even be like 30 minutes. I just need to process my thoughts. And then some are more like my partner, where it's like they just need space from that conversation, but they don't need space from you. And then some need space for like days. And that is dependent, right? Because I'm overall healed and so is he. And so our perspective is going to be like very small. Like it's not going to be that avoidant looking right now. Probably a little bit, but not severe in comparison to some avoidance where they need like a week, which whatever you need to do, but let them reflect without pushing, and allow some time to step back, but also give emotional space with your communication. I'm here to talk when you're ready. I'd really appreciate that, right? Whatever it is. Model behavior is the next one. Sharing responsibility and taking your own part is one of the most powerful ways to get an avoidant to take some accountability. I thought a lot about what happened, and I'm sorry for raising my voice. I didn't handle that very well. Or I reflected a little bit and I realized I was being a little too much. I apologize for that. And I appreciate if we could discuss a little bit about this going forward. Whatever it is, whatever you need to do to kind of open the conversation for you guys to have some moments where you can take some accountability on both sides, right? When you model the behavior, an avoidant also feels like they're not going to be the one, accused or blamed or the one that has to fix everything, right? Just like when we talked about in the beginning, avoidants don't like to open a door where they can be like insulted or embarrassed, whatever it is. So if you're able to take your side and take accountability and model that behavior, they actually feel a little bit safer, like they're allowed to be themselves and open up in that way, okay? The next one is avoiding shaming and ultimatums. Guilting somebody to apologize can backfire with avoidance. So you don't want to say something like, if you love me, you'd say you're sorry. That can be triggering, because then what's going to happen is more often than not, they're going to be like, but I'm not sorry yet. Does that mean I don't love you? And they're going to spiral in that way. Because a fear avoidants have is that they don't actually love you and they made a mistake and they failed. That's not true, but that's why they take so long to say that they love you. I'll probably make a video on that separately, but that's one of their biggest fears. And so you saying that's not going to help at all. All that's going to do is make them push away more because of that fear. You bumped into that fear. But you can say something like, I would appreciate apology when you're ready. I know that right now you might not be ready, and I can appreciate that. I take so long as well, but I feel like somewhere both of us don't like how this turned out, and I feel like maybe an apology could help on both sides. Whatever it is, right? The next one is explain why it matters. Sometimes avoidants don't realize why an apology is necessary for that particular time because they don't realize the emotional importance of an apology. Because sometimes growing up, for avoidance, especially dismissive avoidance, and I remember this, an apology, like saying I'm sorry, is like weak. And so even if you mess up, I mean, I just I try nowadays to apologize, like overly apologize, because I used to never apologize. So I'm like trying to, what's it called? I don't remember the word, but like I'm trying to make up for lost grounds or whatever it is. And so sometimes I apologize. And like at Christmas time, when I was at my dad's, I apologized about something. I was like, oh, you know what? That's on me. Let me fix that. And then he's like, why are you apologizing? You used to never apologize. What happened? Never do that again. Never apologize, because that means you're ruminating. That means you're mulling over. That means you're becoming like mentally unstable and all these things. And I'm just like, okay, I know that's the way he is. And I'm like, all right, I won't apologize. And he's like, don't think about this conversation after this. If you think about it after this, that means you're brooding, and brooding is another sign of weakness. And so I was like, okay, fair enough. And I know that's the way he is, and I don't think that's right or healthy, but he's like very extremely avoidant. Like, as I've told you guys multiple times, like even like an ounce of emotion, he's like, don't have emotions, never have emotions, right? And he's like that. Like there's no emotions on the outside. He's a very emotional person on the inside. I know that because I'm very close to him, but a lot of people wouldn't know that. And so saying why it matters can really help them to realize, because they were taught logically, apologies are not good. They're not important. They're weak. If you think about your mistakes, you're wrong. You just have to fix it and not say anything, or think about it later when you have more time, because other things are more important, and it makes you weak if you're prioritizing whatever it is. I won't get into too much details of it, but if you are an avoidant, you probably understand what I'm talking about. And the last one is the most important: appreciate their version of an apology, right? Sometimes they don't verbally say an apology, but they have a gesture that fix it. So the example I gave about my dad, what he's always taught me is you don't say sorry, you just fix it. Don't ever say it, and don't think about it any longer, and you have to fix it right away. That's his thought process. That's how I've always been. Now I apologize, but a lot of avoidants think that way. Okay, I made my partner mad. I'm going to fix it, but I'm not going to say I'm sorry. I'm just going to fix it. And so you might think that means that like nothing is happening, but I think sometimes paying attention to their action might help. So let's summarize and then we'll wrap it up, okay? The first one is lead with understanding, not accusation. The second one is you want to appeal to their values. The third one is give space after disagreements or even during, depending on who they are. Model behavior, avoid shaming and ultimatums, explain why an apology matters, and appreciate their version of an apology. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.